1,135 men have played international rugby for Scotland, all with their own unique stories to get there. But the one thing they had in common is the hard work it took to reach that pinnacle, the effort, the determination and the drive. In this series, brought to you by Peter Vardy, we will hear about those motivations, the things that get them up in the morning, the things that bring them back after a tough game, and the things that had them lacing up their boots in the first place. The second player joining me in this series is Ali Price. Ali has been a staple in the Scotland team for the last 6 years in the number 9 shirt, earning over 100 caps for Glasgow Warriors, over 50 caps for Scotland, and recently earning his place on the British and Irish Lions tour of South Africa. So shall we go and pick him up? Look at this guy, so smooth. Unbelievable. Come on in, mate.
Thank you.
Here we go. Get yourself in the spaceship.
How are you? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
You up? How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Busy. But, life's good.
Yeah, you must be busy being a legend in Glasgow.
9 years I've been here now.
Yeah,
it's been
is that right?
It's been a long time. Yeah.
How did you end up in Glasgow, of all places? Played for Bedford.
Played for Bedford. They're under 19 team.
Right.
So they were kind of the best of the rest outside of the Premiership Academy team. Basically, they play friendlies every week against the Premiership teams or whatever. And I was playing against Cambridge University as one of their warm-ups, left lane, as one of their warm-ups for the varsity match, the Cambridge-Oxford match. Yeah. And there was someone watching that game. I got an email after the game inviting me to Scottish Exiles under 20 training.
Right.
My first trial or camp thing that I went to was in Leeds, actually.
Okay.
And then after that, when it was the actual under 20 setup, it was based at Murrayfield.
Nice. So you did 26 Nations?
So yeah, my first year I was a year young. I was kind of in the squad, but I never played. And then the following year, I played 26 Nations, and the World Cup was in France that year. Gregor was head coach of Glasgow at the time.
Right.
And he offered me an academy deal when I was during the Six Nations, the under 26 Nations that year. Yeah.
So you came straight from school to
school to Bedford to up here. Yeah. So I moved up here when I was 20.
Right, Ali, thank you very much for having us at your house. You're the second player in this series. We had Pierre Schumann earlier, and we've come all the way to Glasgow. So thanks for inviting us. It's not always all been good times for you. Obviously, every rugby player has up and downs, but without being too morbid, let's start on the bottom end of your journey. There's a particular game against Wales over at the Millennium Stadium, which really still sticks in your mind, or not?
I mean, it doesn't, I think haunt's quite a strong word. It doesn't haunt me still now, but it was definitely a moment that...
So let's just paint the picture for us a little bit. You were breaking into the Scotland team. You were stuck behind Greg Laidlaw for a while. Greg was captain at the time. I mean, I played with Greg for years, incredible player in his own right. And you, as a younger scrum half, were kind of learning from him or being stuck. How did you experience that journey?
No, I think it was great. I think we were both at the stages of our career where I could learn a hell of a lot from him in terms of, obviously, like you said, he was the captain at the time, and as a leader, just seeing someone with the respect of a group, I'd never seen anything like it. You know, the kind of guy that always said what was needed to be said, like you know, bring you in after a training session or even at a game, and he could just sum it up. You know,
he always said the right thing.
Yeah, could always say
in
the
very
right
few
things.
words.
Yeah. So I learned a hell of a lot from him in terms of how he was around the squad. 2017, Greg went away with the Lions. Yeah. We were on summer tour. And then Greg had an injury, so I played in the 2017 November series. It's the last time we played the All Blacks and Australia and Samoa, and you know, it was a brilliant series, to be fair. We played some great rugby. And then, the next thing that came round was the Six Nations. Greg was back fit, and so the Wales game sticks in my mind because it was the first game I'd been picked to start that Greg was available for, and so he was on the bench
So
for
they
that
preferred
game.
you for that game.
First game of the Six Nations.
Yeah, it's a big
Wales
chance.
away, Millennium Stadium. It's a huge opportunity, and didn't do myself justice that day. A couple of errors. Performance wasn't great from the team in general. We didn't get anywhere near a result that we wanted, and it was just very disappointing. I think I'd been riding a wave since coming up. I couldn't do any wrong.
Yeah.
I'd been getting selected and picked and put in squads and kind of just been going with the flow, and suddenly...
And everything felt really easy.
Yeah, suddenly things didn't go to plan,
Both
right?
feet firmly back on the ground.
Yeah.
What was going through your head at that point? Straight after that game, you're in the sheds. What was going through your head?
So at that stage, because things had always gone well, you'd go on your phone, you'd look at people telling you the best things since sliced bread and all the rest of it, and I did the same thing after that game, and
Stupidly.
yeah, I mean, I know that now, and looking back, I'm like, why would you do that? But I had to learn it. I had to go through it, I think, to make me a better player and person.
Yeah.
And that hit me hard. Like it when you get told you shouldn't play again and all the rest of it, you don't know how you'll react until you see it and read it, and people are saying you should never wear a shirt again. It's quite tough to take.
I think people think that rugby players have just got this impenetrable armour, but actually when you read stuff like that, it still hurts.
Yeah, I mean, you only ever try and do your best.
Yeah. How did you deal with that at the time? But more importantly, what have you learned that makes you deal with it better now? Because I assume, Twitter, every keyboard warrior can say whatever they want on Twitter and on an Instagram. But how have you adapted to social media because of what happened then?
I saw a quote actually the other day, which I think sums it up quite well, is that don't take opinions from people you wouldn't take advice from.
Yeah,
it's so true.
Yeah,
Twitter is a minefield, everyone knows that, and I think that's what 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Everyone's way more aware of that side of social media.
But at the time when you read that?
At the time, it affected me. I was then on the bench for the rest of the tournament. Greg started the last 4 games, and I kind of lost my way a bit. Obviously my load training wise wasn't as much because I was on the bench. I was picking up 10, 15, 20 minutes at the end of games. I had to sort myself out, and only I could do that. And I stopped taking things for granted. I felt I got too comfortable in where I was and what I was doing, and that didn't help me at all. I needed to get back to working hard, also enjoying it, and realise how lucky I was. I think you can lose perspective. You lose perspective. You can lose track of that when you're just in the moment, riding the wave. And I had to get back to realising, the opportunity that I have, I managed to do that. I don't know how I work, but I seem to be able to. If I have like a light bulb moment where I'm like, sort yourself out, Ali, like I can do it, and I can put my mind to it. Managed to sort myself out over that summer in 2018,
and then what was sort of your turnover moment? What was the moment where you were like, right, I'm starting to establish myself within the squad now? You started growing into a leadership role. You're in the leadership group now within Scotland. What was sort of the moment that you felt that started happening after you had that light bulb moment?
In terms of my growing up and development, probably a lot of it came post World Cup. Obviously got injured quite early on there, and so I didn't play much of a part in it. But then following on 2020 and going through COVID, I think I've really had to grow up in terms of what happened with isolation, and both my parents were living on their own, and having to deal with stuff off the field and situations like that.
Proper setbacks.
Like life problems, that made me grow up off the field, and I think that reflects on me as a person now and how I am in terms of on field and in terms of leadership. A lot of it comes down to just experience, I think.
Propelling you into that 2021 year, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, that was the year where you really established yourself as a Scotland player and also as a Scotland leader. But can you just briefly reflect on what that felt like going into that year and when you were experiencing it at the time?
I think it all started in 2020 during COVID.
You said you got addicted to running.
Got addicted to running, and it was the best thing that could have happened to me. You know,
I remember everyone's doing 5Ks. I started doing 5Ks. I died after 3K.
Yeah.
But I tried. But you really got into it.
Oh yeah, I fully got into it, from not being able to run for 5 minutes straight to finishing off. By the end of it, when we were back in training, doing half marathons kind of vibe, just around the roads. But I found it enjoyable at that point.
Yeah.
But it really helped me in terms of when I restarted, I was fit. I was in the best shape, and when I'm fit and you know, I play my best rugby.
Going back to Twickenham in the Six Nations, obviously one of the standout games for Scotland. Obviously one of the biggest games always in the Six Nations for Scotland. What did that feel like, getting that victory down there?
It was special, to be honest. I think there's always a lot of the history is brought up leading up to a game like that, but you know, I think it was 37 or 38 years, I think, since a team had been, a Scottish team had gone down there and come away with a win. And we knew all that, we knew that when we got in the change room after, how much of an achievement that was.
There's an iconic picture of you celebrating, which I'm sure we'll get to see here, but that must have been an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely up there in terms of career highlights. In terms of the audience back home, I mean, that was a big motivation for us as well. People hadn't been able to come to stadiums. People had to watch it on TV, and we wanted to give the nation a bit of a lift. And I think it's one of my favourite games was the French game at the end. We hadn't won in Paris for however many years either. And to win it the way we did, I don't know if you'll remember that there was commentary and clip the last 2 minutes of the game. It was like the 82nd minute or something. Yeah. We turn the ball over, the French guy gets it, doesn't kick it out, and we get a turnover back, and we eventually score in the left-hand corner.
Absolutely.
Which was, it was a brilliant way to end that tournament.
And having, you know, achieved so much already at arguably, you know, a fairly young age, you're about to hit 30, so you're still young. As soon as you're 30-year-old. This series is mainly about what drives players. You know, having achieved so much already, what drives you to become better every year?
I will always want to make my family proud. It's why it's part of the reason why I play. Annie, my girlfriend's very driven with her work, and you know, I think I realise as well, I'm in an opportunity now with my career where I can help myself for later in life as well, and it's, you know, it's not going to be for much longer really in terms of my life that I'm going to be able to do what I love every day. And I think in terms of my drive and motivation, it's all internal. It's because I enjoy the game. It's because I love it, and I love playing. I don't like to settle. Since 2018, which we spoke about earlier.
That was a big turning point.
Yeah, like if I settle, I know what's going to happen, right? If I get comfortable, I know what's going to happen, and I don't want that. Like you're not happy when you're turning up doing, and you're watching other people do what you want to do. I think ultimately that's my drive.
Having seen the other side of that, you know, you never want to be in that situation.
Right. I want to be able to continue my career at the highest level, and when the time comes, but I've done it and I've achieved everything I want to, and I've enjoyed every moment of it, and I think ultimately that's my kind of motivation and drive.